this is Monarch Vanguard Kaguya, and this is Monarch Vanguard Sungju. These are two of the best units in anime Vanguards, and in today's video, we will be comparing both these units to see which unit is the best unit in anime Vanguards. This has been a discussion for quite a while now since the updates dropped because they're both very good, but they're also both quite close, and we'll be going over it in today's video. But I also want to give a big shout out to the person who gave me this idea in my last video that I uploaded yesterday. Shout out to you, bro. And if you guys have any other ideas that you want to do on the channel, let me know in the comment section down below. But before today's video starts, please do me a favor, subscribe to the channel because I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers. And as I'm hitting 100,000 subscribers, I'm also uploading daily. So for the daily content, do me a favor and also like the video and subscribe. And yeah, join the Discord server down below to be in future videos, such as maybe even this one, because the person in my Discord server has to use the kind of music for Monarch Kaguya. But stop yapping and let's just get straight into the video. Okay, first things first, as you probably know, I do not have Monarch Kaguya. So shout out to iBest Player or Best Player for letting me on his account once again, because he's let me on his account twice now. So shout out to you, basically let me farm content on your account. So at least a shout out is due. And another disclaimer I want to put out there is that this is just my opinion. At the end of the day, you guys will have different opinions in the comment section, and I think it is quite fun to, you know, you guys can say in the comments, well, I actually think this is better, and this is why this is better, and whatnot. But both the units are very broken in their own ways, and realistically, you should be going for both of them if you're trying to be a very good player. So those are things I want to get out of the way. So how this video will work: first we'll go over Kaguya, because most of you want to see Kaguya first, then you want to see Sungju and Igris, and then after looking at both of those units, like initial impressions, what I think is good about both, then we'll actually start doing the proper comparison. So first, I'll just show you Kaguya, initial impressions, overview of the kit or whatever. But what I don't want you guys to expect is for me to do some shrine level unit overview for Kaguya, because I'm just not shrine, bro. We'll do the comparisons and everything like that, but I just don't want you to think I'm going to do like a whole in-depth shrine thing. I'm not as good at shrine, you know, I apologize. But we still are going to do the comparisons bit by bits, and then my opinions and whatever like that. But first, I just want to show the cutscene, and then we'll dive straight into the kit in the sandbox. So yeah, if you've not seen the Kaguya cutscene, it's insane. There you go. I'll probably put it in the intro. But yeah, let's get straight into sandbox. Now, some of you guys were getting onto me and using high graphics, so hopefully I remember from the second clip, because I'm going to record these far apart. I'm just doing this one early because it's not on my account. So we'll turn on attack effects because people definitely want to see that. At least I was getting fried for it last time. Disable low detail mode, and let's enable that. Okay, so obviously we're in sandbox, so we'll just add a bunch of yen. Now things like placement costs, range, and all the comparisons, like I said, I'll check out later. Before today's video continues, please buy my new UGC Nget Mona. Now, a lot of you know the Nget unique. I thought, why not make one for Monarch? Go cop the UGC. The link will be in the description. Roblox pretty much decides the price, so it might change a bit, go up, go down a little bit, but it'll be roughly around the same price as it is on the screen. Could be in the description. I appreciate it a lot. It does cost me Robux to actually upload it. Link in the description, and yeah, you can get Monarch. But first, and when I do the content first, I just wanted to show you know, on placement, and then max down all the passives or whatnot. So you have a passives, which you could pause the screen, but I want to go over at the end. So if you want to check out right now, you're impatient, whatever, look at it. But realistically, what I want to do, just max out. As you can see, doing 211k without, you know, buffing yourself from other things. So first thing I want to look at is the elemental dimensions. Now, I don't know what's the best way to utilize this, if I'm going to be honest. Obviously, because there's different ways you could do it. So let's just, okay, I'll just get into it a little bit now, because I'm going to need to know if I want to do the comparisons. It's a lot, but it is what it is. I usually put it in auto. Most people probably put it in auto. So you could just turn on auto and it automatically use these in this order. So first, it will use the fire one, ice the second, and sand the third one. Now, why does the order matter? Because if you use fire first, and then you use ice will be affected by the one used previously. So whatever second, like everything, I don't know how to describe it. It's like the previous one affects the next one. So if you read it here where my cursor is, if the previous dimension was ice, slows all enemies on the map. If the previous dimension was sand, increase the duration of stuns. And then the same goes for freeze, the ice, and the same goes for sand. So it's a whole lot. So I don't know what's the best combos for what, because I haven't got that into detail. Probably things like testers and stuff would know that more than me. Okay, so I'm not going to give you advice on how to use Kaguya the best way. But yeah, I just want to pull that out. So this is like already broken support, because things like slowing all enemies on the map, by the way, not just the ones in range, by 50% is already broken on its own. And then you have all these other ones that it'll, you know, loop around. So she'll just do a whole lot, and it just keeps her going and going and going. So after she goes fire, ice, sand, she'll just, you know, start with fire, ice, sand, and just keep going on and on. There's no like massive cooldown in between. It's just like a 1 second cooldown. So you see sand right now, it'll be nothing, and then if you just wait a little bit, I don't know how long it actually is. I said 1 second, but it's probably longer than 1 second. Now I've been honest, but it doesn't take, yeah, doesn't really take that long, and it's already fire again. So yeah, already OP on its own. And then she also has a nuke ability, which has a cutscene, which I'll show, and it deals 1000 damage to every single enemy on the map, and it can only be used once per match per player. Now I think that means that each player can use, so if like you have 4 Kaguyas, if you do a leaderboard run, that means 4 Kaguya nukes, but I'm not completely sure, so don't quote me on that, but I think so. And also another thing to keep in track is that you can actually get Kaguya to 8 to 9 elements. Right now we have 6, but you can actually get it to 8 or 9 depending on what units you use. Because if you use units with multiple elements, you get multiple elements. Because how this works, she pretty much takes all the elements from your team, and then she also gives herself elements depending on the elemental dimension. So if I just show you in her passive, it's not that one. This is pretty decent though, increases damage and range. Don't need to go over that too much. But this unit is counted as each element currently on the team. If this unit swaps to a dimension and it matches the element already applied, this unit gains damage, and if it doesn't match an element already applied, it'll just give itself another element. So she can actually get up to 89 elements, and elements are broken because there's not necessarily elemental advantage in regular stages, I don't think, but other than maybe like tournaments, whatever. Increases fire damage, you know, increases range, it cleanses all status effects, immune to damage debuffs. You get the point. It might immunity to range debuffs, and there's like a bunch of other ones that she could get. So you could get really insane with just elements alone, which buff herself quite a lot. And then you have the nuke ability. Now, I don't want to talk too much about downsides, like I said, because I know people probably already thinking, Rex, why not talk about downsides? Because that is for later on when I do the comparisons. This is just going over the kit. And then you've got the Beast Explosion, where if you use the nuke ability, boom, cutscene is insane. The nuke is insane. It hits everything on the map for 1000%. Like, that is insane. Like, that is really broken. You can clear any stage using it. Like, it's wild if you think about it, because 1000 damage, it's 1000 damage. That's wild. That is wild. But yeah, this Kaguya has all Z plus stats, so I'll probably try out. Does it have any familiar? Actually, I didn't check. No, it doesn't. Okay, which is perfect. So when I use my Sungjun as all Z plus stats, I'll just take off the familiar. But yeah, that's pretty much okay. You can check out the other passives. The only other one I didn't mention was if any ally in range has a meter, this unit attacks restores the meter by 2% per attack. And on attack, it teleports to the nearest applicable location of the attack, which is actually annoying in my opinion, but we'll talk about it. It's good and bad, but she does a lot of support because, you know, she helps gauges and she works well with Sungju and Igris. So I'm just saying, if you got both, you got both. This account has both, which is insane. It also has Gold G, yeah. So I mean, this account's insane, but that's like a whole, that's not what we're talking about today. But yeah, as you can see, the damage gets quite high, and then she has all these support abilities. But let's just move on to Sung Jin-woo and Igris, which I actually do have. Okay, so now we're on to my own account, which does have Monarch, Sung Jin, and Igris. I am lagging a little bit because it's max graphics, and plus I already have like another Roblox open. But I also got Monarch Sid recently. I'm making a grinding video on the update, but I want to go for like 1 million of the flower currency for that video. Well, for 2 separate videos, the grinding video and my own, to see if I can get Kaguya. But I show you guys the Sung Jin and Igris cutscene. It's quite loud compared to the Kaguya, I'm not gonna lie, but it's also quite tough, as you can see. Very clean, whatever. But let's go over that. So I have all Z plus stats on him as well, same as the Kaguya. The only difference is I need to take off the familiar. So if we just unequip the familiar, even though my familiars aren't that good, to be fair, I don't really care too much about familiars. They never changed the UIs back, you know. They said they was and they never did. They both look fine, to be fair. Like, I don't really care too much. But we'll take off the familiar and we'll go straight into sandbox once again to compare. Well, not really compare just yet. First, we just want to look at the overall kit for Sungshu and Igris, just in case you haven't seen it. But most of you probably seen it, and maybe not Kaguya, but maybe a new player or whatever, and you haven't seen Sungshu and Igris. Bro, guys, don't I just look so tough? Like, genuinely. Just looks so tough, don't I, guys? Okay, let's just move on. So I'm going to give myself a bunch of yen. And first thing we'll do is obviously place on Sungshu and Igris. I think it has more range, but when I actually do the full-on comparisons, we'll see. I'll just use the wiki to do it, because obviously it has the more accurate stats or whatever. But this is just looking at the kit. We'll max out once again, just because we want to see maxed out. So first, let's just go over passives. So now, Sungshu, oh wow, they changed how the passives look. So it loses 40% of its total mana when it spawns, which we'll go over a little bit later. When mana is lost, it actually buffs its damage, which is, you know, something you want to keep in mind, because you will be losing its mana quite frequently if you're using summons, or if you're, you know, using nukes or whatever. Increase damage by 5% up to 50%. Reduces damage after increases, blah 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 blah. Summon gains additional health based on the percentage of mana remaining after this summoning. So yeah, that you got all that stuff. So how does Seongju and Igris work? There's two things about him. He either has the nukes, which is attacks, or he has the summons. Now you can only use, well, you can use both, but all the nukes you can only use once per game. This one you can use at upgrade 6. This one you can use at like upgrade 10. I kind of forgot this one. And this one is you can only use when it's like maxed out. So I think, yeah, I don't really remember. I think it's like 6, 10, and then maxed out. I think it's duo. I think. But yeah, then you got the shadows, and then obviously this is the worst nuke. This is the best. I don't know what the multipliers are. I kind of forgot. And then shadows, if you use a 40 mana, then you can't use a nuke because each nuke needs 100 mana. And you get mana by just killing enemies. So let's say I do a summon, we'll do summon the bear. You can see his HP, by the way. It has quite a lot of HP, as you can see. But then you'll see its mana slowly go back up every time he gets a kill. Or when he kills enemies. So as you can see, he'll kill the enemy here. Boom, he'll gain some mana back. And each summon does a different thing, especially at the start. You know, I would, the summons are very, very useful because on placement you can use this summon and obviously have a bunch of HP. So that's very, very useful. You got Steel, which is quite nice. You just chose at the back. You got a Healer, which heals your things, which is kind of the most mid one in my opinion. And then so use it, and then you got Baru, which obviously just does a lot of damage or whatever. So if you just summon him, and then let's say Baru takes damage from the enemies, the healer will heal Baru, and the same goes for the bear, whatever. So I think it's quite simple. It's not too complicated compared to Kaguya, but it doesn't mean it's not good. So we'll show you guys all the nuke cutscenes real quick. So first we'll do the Igris one, which is the weakest one. I don't have enough mana. Wait, let me just spawn in a bunch of enemies. Boom, 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 boom. Just spawn in a bunch. Igris cutscene. Boom, there you go. They all look insane, by the way. And another thing to keep in mind about Seongju is that you can get him free to play. You can get the Vanguard free to play guaranteed, like confirmed, because you could just you know, get Seongju, and then when the Evo wait twice, it's guaranteed to turn into the Vanguard version. So that's a fact to keep in mind. And also, you know, you can use them on Deadeye. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But we'll place we used to show you the second cutscene being this one, which, where is it? Where's the cutscene? Oh wait, there it is. Okay, yeah, this one is probably my favorite one just because it's really clean and smooth. But that's just me though. And obviously impact frames. AV loves impact frames. And last but not least, I'm being a little bit congested now again. Is the duo Seongju and Igris cutscene, as you can see, which goes crazy, bro. I'm not gonna lie, but I still like the other one a little bit more. I feel like this one just does a little bit too much, but I can't lie, this is tough though. This is still tough, don't get me wrong. But yeah, okay, maybe this is better. Maybe this is better, I ain't gonna lie. This is tough. Yeah, they're all tough. I'm glazing also because, I'm not gonna be biased, but I'm also glazing because look, like, I have him on my own account. So I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to both kits. They're both very, very OP and considered two of the best units in the game. But now we need to start actually comparing the units and deciding, well, at least for me to decide which one I think is a better unit. Or maybe it's even a draw, we don't know. We'll see. I haven't actually done the comparison, so I don't even know myself. But let's just get straight into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over in comparison is going to be the prices for both units. So now, Seongju, maybe you won't surprise a lot of you, is cheaper. Not only is he cheaper to place down, he's also cheaper to max out according to the wiki. So if you look at the wiki, I mean, we already know the placement is obviously correct. It costs 1.7k to place down, and it costs 105k in total to max out. Whereas, not only does Kaguya cost the extra 50k to max out, which is a lot considering, you know, the farms don't give a ginormous amount, and then it also costs 3.5k, which amounts a lot more. Wait, why does it say 1.2k? Wait, what? Why does it say 1.2k here? Okay, I don't know if I'm tweaking, or this may be me as the first aggressor, and I don't know, but she costs 3.5k to place down, so she's more expensive in price. Seongju clears, and that is obviously still an important thing, which kind of moves on to my next thing, which is going to be progressive. Now, it gets quite close to progressive because even though Kaguya is quite close, I mean not quite close, quite expensive to place down, she is still good in progressive mode. She's not that bad, but she's definitely not better than Seongju for a couple of reasons. So, Seongju is going to be more reliable in progressive game modes, so we're talking the short game modes, because one thing, Seongju is cheaper, we already went over that, but that does impact, you know, the progressive modes. Then he also has that bear. When you place him down, that bear is very, very useful, and it will help clear enemies even if he's not doing enough damage. Then he also has nukes they can gain earlier on, but mostly it's because of the TPs. In certain progressive game modes, there'll be you know, certain game modes where there'll be different paths. Kaguya won't be able to stay in one place and attack all these. If they made Kaguya like she don't move out of her place, that would make her a lot more broken than she already is. Because what the problem is, if there's multiple paths and you use Kaguya, she'll be teleporting around the place. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's a little bit annoying. And you'll see if you watch one of my older videos, literally only been a day actually. where I used Kaguya against AV, she kept just teleporting around the block. Like, she just kept going everywhere. And when there's in dungeon, for example, there's about 4 paths. Yeah, it becomes annoying. I mean, Guilty Gear's map, that's a new map. It has 2 paths already. So Sungju, you could put steel at the back just to cover it. Then obviously you can attack both sides. So you can put someone on one side, and then you've got his nukes early on and things like that. So Sungju is better than in progressive. Most people probably agree with that. Most people already know that. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's not better than Sungju, because Kaguya is still good in progressive modes. It's just the TP that gets a little bit annoying. But I mean, if she's wiping them, then it's not that big of a deal either, because if she's teleporting them, wiping, you're just doing the stage faster. And she'll still clear the progressive thing. But yeah, that's why I still think Sungju is more reliable, because still got the bear early on, cheaper, and doesn't teleport around the whole block. Okay, so back to the wiki, we have the DPS comparison. So if we look at Kaguya's DPS, this is just raw DPS we're looking at. 43k every 8 seconds. Sungju 32k every 8 seconds, which means in terms of raw DPS, sure, Kaguya clears. What about all the other passives and everything? Well, if we look at Kaguya's passives, she buffs herself and her range when she resets the cycle domain or whatever and repeats in the cycle. But what you also got to keep in mind, if we really look at the passives properly, I mean, you got in the fire domain, 35% off for 8 seconds. Fire elements deal 30% more damage. She's doing burn. She's doing slowing all the enemies, which technically, I mean, let's just pretend like it doesn't add to the DPS, even though it will. And then you got the freeze doing 30% more damage in the domain. You got the repulse doing blast deals 30% more damage. Then you got all the other ones that I'm just brushing past to go through this quickly. Because look, buff of the next dimension by 50%. Things like that. She definitely has more DPS, but Sungju don't, downplays DPS just because I'm saying Kaguya has more. He still has a lot. As you can see, that allied summoning, you get an extra 50% permanently, which is quite nice. But it takes a lot more time. Here again, 20% range and 30% damage, which is quite nice. But Kaguya does have more DPS, if we're being completely honest. So yeah, Kaguya just has more DPS. Her passives and her abilities add to her DPS, and then she already has more raw DPS. So she clears on like both sides, if that makes sense. Now we have AOE. Now, I talk about AOE. When I'm talking about AOE, we're talking about range. But the thing is about range, it's not only does Kaguya teleport around the whole block. She has literally 45 range, whereas Sungju and Igris has 46 range. So it's one range difference, but then Kaguya is teleporting around the whole block. So technically, you could say, because Kaguya is teleporting around, she has more AOE. But even though I don't like it too much, technically that's true. And then plus, what I'm mostly talking about is also the fact, and they have the same AOE con too. But what I'm talking about is Kaguya's nuke. Kaguya's nuke hits the entire map, and she can always go, towards the back of the map as well, which is kind of like, I'm talking about the TP like it's a bad thing, because it is sometimes, but it can also be convenient. I just haven't used it in a convenient sense. That's why I'm crying about it a little bit. But yeah, it can be convenient because, she'll go towards the back, whatever. So that's good. And she's always defending. You have to keep selling and replacing her, which is nice. Especially on one path maps. So that's when she's peaking. She's peaking on one path maps, I'll be honest. It's very, very nice, the teleport thing. But I'm going off topic. Her nuke hits the entire map, which is insane. Like, insane. Out of the range, don't care. The nuke hits the entire map. And then all of her passives, not passives, the whole elemental thing hits the entire map. The fire domain, the ice domain, the sand domain. That all hits the entire map. She's repulsing all enemies on the map on the sand domain. She's freezing all the enemies in the ice domain. In the fire domain, she's freezing all enemies, and this is all enemies on the map. So in terms of AoE, in terms of range, in terms of AoE con, whether you like it or not, even if you don't like the teleports, Kaguya still clears in terms of, in the whole map and things like that. So yeah, AoE, range, whatever you want to call it, Kaguya clears. The next thing we're going to talk about, we're getting towards the end here. There might have been some points I missed out, but I've still got 2 more, including this one, which is going to be consistency. Now I'm talking about consistency, my bad. Because I've been crying a lot about the TPs, and that's why I think Sungju might be a little bit more consistent, because you can use Kaguya and Sungju all in the same game modes, but we already know Sungju is better in progressive game modes. Plus, if I'm being honest with you, there might be some times where Kaguya will be a little bit annoying, whereas Sungju will always pretty much perform, I guess you could say. Not to say that Kaguya won't. Kaguya pretty much will 99% of the time, 98% of the time, whereas I feel like Sungju is just at 99%. So it's a 1% difference, but I just feel like Sungju is a little bit more consistent just because he doesn't teleport too much and he's cheaper, which not only makes him better than progressive, it does make him better in maybe certain game modes, because we know AV, they like to add, different game modes with different difficulties, things like that, and unique mechanics. And I feel like you can use Sungju in pretty much all of them, whereas Kaguya, you could probably use it in probably all of them, but you never might add one where Kaguya might not dominate maybe because there's too many paths or whatever, like such as dungeon, for example. So that's why maybe like that 1%, it's like the smallest difference in the world. But I guess, you know, kind of beats Kaguya in that. But I feel like it's such a small thing that low-key, like I'm not even going to give it like a full point. I'm going to give it like half a point. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not the biggest thing in the world, but I just feel like Songjubu is a little bit more consistent than Kaguya. And then the last thing, longevity, and then maybe just to glaze a little bit, but pretty much longevity. Kaguya will clear, in my opinion, in the long game. So if we just have a look at the wiki real quick, if I wiki, Kaguya will clear in the long game, in my opinion, because look, if we look at Kaguya right now, her kit is just insane, because she's the best support in the game and the best DPS, like doing the most DPS, which is insane to think about. And then in the future, you'll have new units that kind of clear Sungju Woo. Well, not clear him, but you'll have units that are better than him, because let's be real, Sungju Woo mostly relies on his summons and his damage. But when they add more units that just do more damage and more damage than his summons, then he won't be as good. He'll still be really, really good, because look, it's going to take a long time to clear Sungju Woo. I mean, he has 3 nukes and a high amount of damage and summons. But they're also, it's not like a support thing about him where, or just something about him that no other unit could do. Like, sure, nukes, they could add new units with nukes. He does have something so unique about him. I mean, he does at the moment, but like in the future, they could add a new unit with summons that are more OP than Sungju Woo, or units that just do more damage. Whereas with Kaguya, there's a lot of damage, and also has these insane support abilities, like, you know, slowing down the whole enemies, doing a nuke that hits the entire map. Things like that is genuinely insane. I mean, repulsing the whole enemies, freezing them, doing burn to all of them. It's all just insane. And even when she's not the highest DPS in the game and there's better DPS, she'll still be doing a decent amount of DPS. But her support is genuinely insane. Her support is crazy. So she still has more longevity than Igris. So if you got Kaguya, you got Sun Igris. In the future, like, even though right now might be close, Kaguya would probably, you know, clear a little bit more, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I mean, maybe you guys can disagree, but I'm pretty sure longevity-wise, Kaguya is going to clear. But at the moment, it's not really a clear basis, you know what I'm saying? Like, Kaguya doesn't, you know, dust Sungju, is what I'm saying. So, in my humble and unprofessional opinion, I think Kaguya is a little bit better than Sun Igris. However, in the future, I think the gap is going to get, you know, quite widened, because Kaguya will still be a unit you'll want to use for the support, because you're doing freeze, repulse, and burn. And then I'd even speak about the element that she can give herself, which will help her out a little bit, because she'll be immune to things and whatnot. And then Sungju might fall down a little bit, but she'll still be OP though, because it's still a lot of damage. It'll take time. You know, the balancing in this game is pretty decent, so, you know, it won't be like A-less update every single week, generational battle group. I still love A-less. I'm just keeping it real. But I mean, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Subscribe. Like I said, I'm doing daily uploads. This update should hopefully be soon. I haven't said too much about it, you know. And then Ace to D should be like next week, I think. Which is, that's insane, man. I can't wait. 1 or 2 weeks. I think it's like 2 weeks. I don't know. But I can't wait, man. Genuinely, like, I'm very happy for that game. But let me know if you want to see some other games, other content ideas in the channel. Someone literally suggested this, which I hopefully mentioned in the intro. So if you got any good ideas, let me know in the comment section down below, because, you know, if they're a good idea and I think it'll perform well and people will like it, then I'll make sure to do it. But join the Discord server down below to me in future videos. Subscribe, because I'm trying to upload daily. See you guys in the next video.